Hey guys, for this episode of Fear Friday, we're going to continue from the last episode. We're talking about heat. The first one was about training in the heat. Today we're going to talk about racing in the heat. That's a little different, but hopefully if you've trained well, race day will go off smoothly. But here's the thing. You can't ever really predict what's going to happen on race day. So all you can do is train well and be prepared to handle whatever happens. So my first tip to you for race day is just have ice. Actually, the first thing I can say to you is just be well hydrated going into the race. You need to drink enough 2 or 3 days leading up. Don't overdo it because you don't want to flood all of your electrolytes out of your system, but just make sure you're staying hydrated. Don't be dehydrated is the number one thing. Just do not be dehydrated. Then the second thing is keeping your core temperature really nice and cold. So that is where the ice comes into play. So if you go to an aid station and they have ice, stick it anywhere. I mean, down your shirt, in your hat. Wear a buff around your neck, so wrap ice in it. Make an ice bandana. You can do whatever you have to do to I'm sorry, there was a thing that popped up on my computer. Do whatever you have to do to keep your core temperature. If you have arm sleeves, don't just think about arm sleeves as being for the winter. They are great in the summer. If you can pack them full of ice, it will drop your core temperature really quick. And if you have them on, make sure that you really stuff the ice around your wrist. Anywhere that's a pulse point, so around your neck is great. In your hat, so it kind of drips down your temples. And on your wrist, stick it down your shirt. If you're a girl, put it down your sports bra, put it down your shorts. If you're a guy, any place that you can really easily access your pulse points. That will help to lower your core temperature. That's great. Also, if you are at an aid station and they have any sort of fruit or anything that can help your electrolytes stay up. So pineapple has a whole lot of potassium in it. It's great. A lot of people think bananas are the only thing that you can do. Bananas are great, but so is pineapple. Watermelon, those are great because it's full of water. So when you're in an aid station, make sure you take in plenty of foods that have water in them. The other thing is to stay on top of your electrolytes. I know that goes without saying, but here is the trick. I had this conversation the other day with a good friend who's also an awesome athlete. And if you're training in a really humid condition, if you're racing in a really humid climate, humid conditions, you really need to make sure that you're staying on top of your sodium, your potassium, and your calcium, so all your electrolytes, because you're going to sweat so much, you're going to lose all that stuff. But if you're training in a really dry climate, we were just talking about this happened to her, and it's true, if you're training in a place where there's dry heat, you're not sweating as much. You don't have to go overboard with the electrolytes. You do need to stay hydrated, but if you're pumping in those electrolytes, you're not sweating them out, you could get into a really scary situation. So a good thing to do is notice your hands. So if your hands start to swell, if they start to really puff up, you are not absorbing those electrolytes. And so they are pooling into your skin. You'll notice that. You'll get really, kind of puffy. Pardon my dog. You'll get really puffy. If you notice your watch starts to feel really tight, you probably won't have most of you probably won't have jewelry on, but if you notice that your watch starts to get tight or your fingers start to swell where they feel like they're about to almost pop, that's a problem. So what I suggest at that point is stop your electrolyte drink, stop your gels, just focus on the water at that point to kind of help you flush that out. If you start to sweat and you're having this heavy white film on you, that also means you're not absorbing those electrolytes. They're just coming out on your skin. So that's another sign. So really pay super close attention to things like that are happening during a race, because you can get in a really bad situation really fast if you're not paying attention. And the other thing I can say is just make sure, as we talked last week, that you've trained in the heat, because nothing prepares you for a hot race like training in it. There's not much you can really do if you haven't exposed yourself to it. So again, the things we talked about last week, training in the heat of the day, jumping in the sauna, those are some really great ways to just make sure that you're ready for a hot race. Okay, thanks so much, guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.